We got time?
Quickly, eh?
Collingwood onto the ground, looking for back-to-back victories after climbing off the deck last week at three-quarter time to inflict Geelong's first loss of season 2013. It was just by the one kick, but such an important win for Nathan Buckley and the Collingwood Football Club. Fellas, let's whip around and get your tips only at this stage, please. Sellers, how do you see it?
Rhino Keith is a star, Norm Smith medalist, and Sydney to win.
And just your tip at this stage, Ruth?
Yeah, Sydney. I think just the depth through the midfield, Ru. I think Sydney.
Yeah, I think Sydney as well. Just in a thriller.
Yeah, it's a very tight one, this one. We're going to talk about the player that is going to be the pivotal point, Sellers. We might come back to you just to remind us. Who do you think the man is going to be?
Rhino Keith. He is a Norm Smith medalist and the star, and I know I buggered that up. I apologise.
That's all right. What about you, Ru? Who do you think the main man's going to be?
I like the big Canadian, Mike Pike, up there to get his hand on the ball and kick a couple of goals tonight.
What about you, Rosie?
Good signs with Adam Goods last week, I thought, so I really think he'll have a big game tonight.
Do you want to throw into the war room, Sellers? Give you another crack?
Who do you reckon?
I don't host anything.
Let's go into the war room. Brad Johnson, who's going to be the man that makes a difference tonight?
Jared Steele, side bottoms the man, averages 22 disposals. He's kicked 11 goals so far this year and he's fast become a consistent big game player for the Pies. Kingy?
Travis Cloke's always the man. I think he'll kick 6+ tonight, probably 6-6 knowing Travis. Jared, your thoughts?
And 4 out of bounds.
Who was it? It's Usain Bolt that does this, isn't it? Well, I think tonight we're going to get this one. I think the slingshot ping is going to be back. Lewis Jetta for mine, playing off the wing. I hope he goes up on Harry O'Brien because if the game's about entertainment, if you wanted to take somebody from Hawaii, Ruzi, your new home state, to the game, you'd say go and have a look at these two blokes. Jetta versus Harry.
The only problem is if you show those two blokes, then they think everyone plays like that, Ru. Not everyone plays like those two. So, but look, it would be a great contest. There's no question. I'm just not sure either coach would want to take the punt on either Lewis Jetta on O'Brien or vice versa, because both players we know can do some enormous damage offensively. I think it'll be interesting, Sellers, does Harry O'Brien go back? I thought he was super on the wing early in the season, really got his form up and about. Last week he was terrific. Arguably, we had a bit of an argument about this, arguably his best game.
It was his best game.
For Collingwood. But he's certainly a player that I felt last year lost his way a little bit down in defence. So it was a good move by Nathan Buckley to release him early this year on a wing and get his form back.
And he goes back and helps in defence. You know, he really does help that with Seedsman and Maxwell and a few other guys down there. They're not oversized, so the extra man really does help. And that's where he gets his run too. He runs and carries a 100-metre player.
Are you concerned about the MCG record, Ruzi? Because you actually created this record.
No.
The last 12 times, 10 losses, 1 draw, and 1 win. The win actually counted for plenty.
Well, I tell you, I know when you're coaching, people don't believe when you say it. So not being a coach now, I honestly say it doesn't make any difference. I mean, really, the Swans don't play very often there at the MCG. It's just that when the Swans have played there, they haven't played that well. But let me tell you, in 2005 and 2012, they had reasonable days at the MCG. So, look, I don't think the ground's at all a factor. It's just been the opposition's been better on the day.
What about it? Not the ground, but what about when a side dominates you? I think Collingwood, prior to the prelim last year, they'd won the last 11 games. That does get into your head as a player.
Yeah, I do believe in that theory because both teams tend to start thinking like that. I think we've all seen teams over the years that tend to have the wood on the other team. So I think the fact that John Longmire's team were able to beat Nathan Buckley's team in the preliminary final last year was pretty significant because those runs can tend to go on, Sellers, and no one can really explain why it happens, but it does tend to happen when certain teams play each other.
Yeah, these two sides have both had inconsistent quarters. 8 goals last week against them from Geelong. Last week, 24 points in front Sydney and get a draw. So inconsistency is their problem.
And here is the coin toss. It's Jetta and Cracker to celebrate the Indigenous round. 2 of the most exciting Indigenous players that are playing at this stage. And between them, I think we're going to see some magnificent goals tonight, I hope, Root.
Well, goals and marks. What about Cracker's mark? Was it last year or the year before he took that absolute screamer? So they're going to light up the MCG tonight.
Looks like magnificent conditions. Do the weather conditions play a factor in this game at all, Sellers?
No, they're beautiful, beautiful night. I'd be a bit dewy, that's about all. We had a magnificent day in Melbourne today. It only got over to about 13 degrees, but it was gorgeous.
What a leader he's been in his short time, Ruzi. the boy from Sydney, Kieran Jack, and we just had some vision there. There's Pendlebury. So many experienced midfielders. It's a cracking setup, this.
Yeah, I think the midfield matchups in all games are exciting, really. McVeigh's had to go back to half-back flank. He went there last week because Matner is out, Shaw is out. So they're really looking for McVeigh to use the ball use off half-back. So that's the reason there. But it does take a little bit out of their midfield, Roo. If McVeigh's been one of their most consistent midfielders, so you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, a little bit, because you want to get that ball out of your back half and use it well. You don't want to turn it over, and McVeigh's a very good ball user.
And the leadership of Luke Ball, so important around the stoppages. They get one wrong, he knows how to fix it.
Yeah, and we talked about Kennedy, how big and strong he is in the middle. Well, Ball needs to go in and win the hard nut tonight. The
dual Brownlow medalist, Adam Goods, has there ever been a better Indigenous player? Is he set to explode in round 9, the Indigenous round, and turn it on again at the MCG? There is the powerhouse of the Collingwood Football Army, and that is, of course, Dane Swan and Scott Pendlebury. What a matchup. That's the one we've been looking for, fellas.
It's on.
It looks like it's on. That is going. I can't wait to get out the TV to watch that one, because it does look like they've both gone to the wing sellers. So that's a super matchup if it transpires.
I reckon they might meet each other at the end of the game.
Oh, shake hands.
Yeah, Ryan O'Keefe, the Norm Smith medal. What a magnificent result that was. Here's the opening bounce. It's round 9. It's Collingwood versus Sydney Swans. Let's go to the action.
To get underway. Rucks go at it. Knocked down by Mumford. Pendlebury slung. Side bottom. Gave it across towards Swan. He kicks it out towards right half forward. And the Swans lead in all directions to Swan's kick. I know it's confusing. Storming through. Reid. Or was it Richards? It was Richards who goes to Bolton. And Bolton's away. No one inside the 50 up ahead. He'll try and bounce it through. O'Brien gave chase. Getting back right on the line. This could be reviewed. No, touched. Oh, Russell did brilliantly.
Morton just couldn't hang on to him there. He needed to just try and keep him away. Goods almost did well. Got it back to Kennedy. And then Kennedy's kick is a good one. And the guy that we were talking about, Tom, post-match, or pre-match, I should say, has taken the mark, Hanbury.
Good first-up touch for Josh Kennedy also. Just see that one just getting to it, Russell over the line there. McCaffrey started off the back of the square, outside the centre circles, and went straight to Kennedy, so he's got the job on him there.
So 4 goals last week, all of them early, career high. He's second in the coaches' poll so far in this season behind Gary Ablett, and he's kicked the first behind. Well, the second, as it's turned out, the first was rushed. He's really become in everyone's conscience, I think, this week. It's almost like he hasn't quite done what Dane Beams did last year, but you feel like he's the guy that's really elevated himself in the midfield in the competition so far this season. There's O'Brien. Good mark at the second attempt.
Yeah, Hanbury's been terrific. 10 goals for the season, 4 in the first half last week. He's really dynamite. O'Brien off his step, drives it just beyond the wing. Malcheski in front. That's a strong grab, despite the efforts of McCaffrey. Malcheski, defensive side of the wing to McVeigh. Just jabs one. Kept his head there, did well. Finds Mumford. Mumford down towards right half forward. Kicks inside the forward 50. O'Keefe is up, virtually uncontested.
Right on it, Marty. Yeah, no, he's right on here.
So he'll kick from just inside the 50. The angle will open up for the left footer. He's half a chance from here. What do you reckon, Tom?
Definitely.
Half a chance. There goes the kick. Right on the goal line. Off hands Jolly. Now, I'm not sure that was his intention to knock it back across the line. Let's call it a muffed mark, but safety first.
Yeah. Very optimistic to say he fumbled it through for a behind. I think he dropped the mark through for a behind, didn't he?
Yes.
He knows this club so well, doesn't he, Jolly, in those famous finals. Hanbury brilliant to Jack. McVeigh had a fumble and then put Jack under the pump. Kennedy did really well there and then gets a half a kick away. Ball in those trenches that Lee talked about, and then Maxwell hacking forward. Cloak and Richards, what a contest that should be through the night. Swan clever, trying to get away from Smith, and then back it goes to side bottom. Just had well, I thought I had too much on it, but it's Pendlebury who just reached up and plucked it and then drills it brilliantly to Wicks.
It's nice forward play by Wicks. I mean, we know he's a ruckman playing forward as a second ruckman, but he sort of held his ground till he saw that Pendlebury got cleared, then just came forward towards the kicker. That was actually good forward creative thinking. Mickey O'Loughlin, you would have done that many times.
Many a time, Lee.
Yeah.
You can see the absolute fantastic kick from Pendlebury, but you can see if you've got to get forward, that's got to happen with the Swans midfielders getting dangerous. That's what the Collingwood midfielders have to get forward as well.
It's his first goal ever, and Collingwood get the opening goal of the match. Well, McVeigh fumbled, which is unusual. I mean, the fumble by McVeigh in the middle of the ground created the turnover. And
well, the forward efficiency, isn't it? Collingwood have gone forward once. They got one shot at goal. They've kicked a goal. The Swans had the 3 shots, but weren't able to convert the efficiencies all with Collingwood in this early few minutes.
I didn't tip Witts to be the opening goal scorer tonight.
No.
Big fella there, Witts. Great story for football in Sydney. He came through the private school system. He was a rower. He was a first 15 rugby player. Played footy for Sydney Uni and picked up by Rod Carter, old Swans man coaching Sydney Uni.
Mumford knocked it down, stolen away by Pendlebury. Another searching kick inside the forward 50. Well defended by Everett. Knocked it away. After it goes Lynch. Deflects it across to Cracker to Blair in midair. Taken down strongly by Smith. Ball wedged in there over the top. Pendlebury covered a bit of ground to get to that contest, and the ball up down towards the left full forward pocket. Umpire wasting no time. Jolly reaching over the top though. Mumford. McCaffer across the shoulder with the run cloak. He'll be hard to beat here. Hands to it, couldn't hang on. Falls in front. Kennedy in the grass, played it well. Hanbury went back to Richards. McVeigh just jabs it close to the boundary line, and it goes out.
Well, Collingwood have had a win here. They've started with 3 tools, Cloak, Witts, and obviously Lynch. And Rampy started on Witts. He's had to come off the ground. Everett's come on, and they've had to reshuffle their whole defence, the Sydney Swans.
So stretching that defence, and we talked about the fact that their defence has been decimated with injury this year. Pendlebury again taking the ball inside 50.
Strong.
Wow.
Here.
Gee, that's sticky hands, isn't it? I mean, he really, the pressure that was on his hands when he just had to stick. Gee, that was a strong mark.
Just the strength on the first fend-off.
Fantastic.
And kicks the goal, so Collingwood get the first 2 goals of the match. Yeah, he was anchoredly, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, he couldn't jump or anything, but it's just his body strength.
It's just the ball when you're sort of really not able to soften your hands, Mickey, and when the ball's on the way forward. Geez, that's a firm grip.
Yeah, it's one thing we do know that he can do. He can grab that ball, can't he? The conversion's the issue, but obviously a fantastic kick there.
Just see the clearance here. Have a look at this marking technique. There's been a lot spoken about the dual actions of the forwards going and taking them up. He just had the one stiff arm, no double push there. That is absolute textbook.
He's got 24 goals for the season now. Mumford knocks it down again. Stolen by Blair. It may be a Swans free. A tackle that lingered. Free kick to McGlynn. Alongside the centre circles. Kicks inside the forward 50. Well done by Mike Pike. Isn't he becoming a talent?
Got a strong mark. I think he's the leading contested marker in the game all of a sudden, isn't he? So
2 more metres.
It's got 23, Lee. Revolt's on 20 and Cloak was on 19 going in.
We all wonder when Tippett's available in a few weeks and you've got Pike and Mumford, can they fit the 3 in the Swans lineup? It'll be a pleasant problem for the coaches.
So Pike, 45 metres out. Kick is on the way, and that's nice. Very nice.
Is he the most improved footballer in the competition, bar none?
Given where he was 5 years ago, he definitely is.
I reckon 18 months ago.
I must admit, when he came to Sydney, I was doing some pre-season training with him, and I didn't think he'd be where he is today.
Yeah.
He's amazing. I mean, the grand final was a massive moment for him. He played so well. Mumford was injured that day.
10 goals won.
Yep. What do you reckon, Tom? Magpies or Swans? Who's more likely to finish in the top 4 at the end of the home and away?
The Swans, I think, very, very strong in Sydney. Always have a good draw.
Let's know what you think. So Pike, as we talked about, probably the most improved footballer in the competition, bar none. Marking brilliantly and kicking so straight. So will Sydney get one back? That's a slack handball from Reid. And then going to ground Bird, but no interference. Getting down low was Williams. It's good to see him back last week. It was a Maori descent, Williams. He's a courageous young player. Of course, Claremont got injured last year.
With a few small defenders out of the team, Williams and Seedsman are kind of the next generation small defenders for Collingwood tonight.
Gee, that was a brilliant kick by Jolly, and the cracker gives to Brown, and Brown finds Lynch, who's within range.
And that's the matchup Richo was talking about. So Rampy's back on the ground. You see Witts and Cloak deep as the men, really large men, and it leaves Lynch as the third tall. And Rampy would only be 5'10", 5'11" in the old. It's a huge job.
Makes it difficult. I mean, in the Eagles jumper, he'd be lobbing these from 60 metres, but this year he doesn't seem to be striking his kicks quite as crisply.
His numbers are a bit down in the last 3 weeks. He started, he's hit that very poorly. That's a terrible kick for Lynch, and Lee backed up what you said a moment ago.
Well, it's just this year. For some reason this year he seems like he's lost the penetration in his set shot kicking.
That's the glove. It's the glove, Lee. He's got the glove on his drop hand. Normally the glove is on the other hand, but he has to wear it, Lee.
Is that it?
Boundary throw in then. Witts knocking at Goldwood. Ball spills out from O'Keefe. Hanbury at close quarters to Smith. He kicks it to the 50. Seedsman's a long kick, but he's offline. Just hangs it out to the right. Didn't miss by much in the end. Bending back. Collingwood have started well. They lead by 4 points. Malcheski uses the ball well and finds Everett.
Hey, Richo, just quickly, I mean, was that completely tongue-in-cheek? Are you feeling like just psychologically he feels different?
With the glove?
Yep.
Yeah, no, well, normally if you wear a glove for marking, you'd have it on your opposite hand, but because of his finger, he has to have it on the drop hand. You lose feel.
So Reid on the run, yep. Getting it from Pike and then kicking inside. Mumford just got brushed away. Not Mumford, I should say Morton. Can he get another crack? Reid, clever. And then Goods gets it from Bird. And then Goods kicks to a hot spot. Hanbury and O'Brien. Free kick to O'Brien.
Good matchup.
And 50.
50 in the forward line. Goods looks like he's Nick Maxwell is the direct matchup.
Rich, I've just got to quickly, I want to get back to you for 1 second when I get the chance. It's going to come back. I'll get that chance. So, Matthew, I guess what my question is, are you saying psychologically you feel that takes some metres off the kick?
No, I'm just saying with your ball drop, when you've got the glove on your hand, you haven't got the same feel on the ball, and normally players would wear one glove purely for a marking
do you think
purpose.
that's affecting his kicking?
Yeah, I do. It's affecting his ball drop.
But he takes it off when he kicks. Anyway, we'll talk about that
Don't you get
later.
technical, Lee.
Don't complicate it for me.
Ball down towards the 50. Cracker hurriedly out of the congestion. This will run out of bounds, will it? That's a good result for Collingwood.
I felt like BT there cross-examining Richard.
Well, it was diffused at the end by the voice of reason.
But I think he takes it off when he has his set shot. He has it on for his marking, but when he has his kicking, he takes it off, tucks it in his sock.
Boundary throw in. Jack over the shoulder. Swan in trouble. Malcheski waited for him. The tackle seemed to creep high, and now the ball goes out of bounds.
I'm sticking to my theory. It's the Eagles jumper and the Collingwood jumper. That's the difference.
And the jumper might be bloke with a glove. We watch so closely when he takes his next kick.
He doesn't take it off. It's taped, and it's a very grippy glove. So I'm with Richo 100%.
Knocked down by Pike. Whipped out towards Jack. Jack the high ball. A hand pass came from O'Keefe. Knocked down by Morton. Oh, well worked. Hand pass came from McGlynn. They work it forward as Morton sends it down towards half forward, but Reid goes back and takes the mark.
It was a good one too, and the kick is a dangerous one into the centre. McCaffer, crackers, look away handball. O'Keefe couldn't quite crack it, and then Morton again did well to Bird, who sweeps to McVeigh. McVeigh to O'Keefe, almost run down, gets a good kick away. McGlynn in a good spot. That's a great mark. Not quite Cloak at the other end, but that was a courageous contested mark. Just a bit of danger in the middle for Collingwood in the turnover.
Yeah. Well, just because the older players are upfield and they come back with the flight of the football, it's amazing how often like a small player will be in a one-on-one marking contest at the goal front.
Well, he's the Schneider of 3 or 4 years ago for Sydney, isn't he? He's had a couple of great years, McGlynn, and kicks the goal. The unlucky play at the end of last season, and the Swans come back hard. That must have ripped his heart out last year when he couldn't play in the finals. I mean, he got the hamstring injury, didn't he, at the start of the finals? I think in Adelaide, didn't he, in that final?
Yeah, like absolute. He's obviously coming from Hawthorn and he's adapted well to Sydney. He's been an instrumental player for that whole year last year, and unfortunately missing that grand final was a real heartbreak for him, but he's very much well loved at Sydney.
And he does a bit what Schneider did, I reckon, for Sydney before he went off to St Kilda.
Just a quick turnover there, and it was a bit fumbly through the middle of the ground from the Pies. They are squeezing and pressing right up that forward press, and so they are vulnerable over the top, and McGlynn the benefactor on that occasion.
Mumford knocks it down, follows up, tries to knock it forward, spills back through the pack, falling on the football jack. In trouble O'Keefe. He's held up, and the umpire will do it again. So Benny McGlynn, Sydney's leading goal kicker for the season now. He's got 15. Jude Bolton has 14. And likely Quinella starting the season. Side bottom, hasn't had much so far. Seedsman back to side bottom, just chips it to the wing. The characteristic of the man, he found a teammate. Dwyer goes very short. Elliott comes up, takes the mark.
It was a good kick. It had to be precise because McVeigh really dug in. Elliott asked to go, and he sold a dummy to McVeigh and gets away, and then gets the ball to about 20 metres out. Cloak used his body cleverly. It was a hard one for Jack and a boundary throw in.
Oh, we're about to have a look at the lid. Yes, he did have his glove. What are you blokes talking about? We actually, didn't know we were believing our eyes.
The moral of that is never question Lee Matthews. Is that the moral
I
of that?
think that's the moral, or never listen to Richard. No.
No.
I think that's more the truth.
No, just kidding, Richard. You know that.
Don't you be intimidated down there, Richo. You keep going. Now, we learned that lesson a long time ago, Dennis and I, with Lee, Tom. It's written on our heads in stone, isn't it, Dennis?
Can I say that he has been leaving it on?
Yes.
He just ruined me.
Anyway, one thing, forgetting that, he isn't kicking as well, and that's the key, isn't it? That's a throw by a
Yeah.
Collingwood.
It's a good tackle.
Darren Jolly, straight to him.
So Jolly, a premiership player, of course, with both clubs, so in a bit of a unique situation here. And then a careful, good-looking kick to Cloak.
Courage.
That was gutsy. And that's the bloke that won the Norm Smith with plenty of heart last year, didn't he? It's O'Keefe.
That's twice the Swans have got that right. The previous inside 50, it was Everett who got in the flight path of Cloak and O'Keefe on that occasion.
Just lays it off to Melchesky, goes very close to the boundary line. In fact, it's called out on the full. Russell running away, doesn't realise it's his kick. He didn't see it that way, but he's coming back to get the footy. O'Keefe has started very well. 6 possessions. His career high came against Collingwood. Round 12:09, 41. Back to O'Brien. So much sparkle about his football at the present time. Up on his toes, driving kick inside the forward 50, almost a Cloak, spills wide of the pack. Richards, stolen away by Ball, kicks to space, side bottom, runs outside the 50, onto the football, short one. Cloak covered some ground, was in the contest about 50 metres away just moments ago.
Gee, that was. I mean, Ted Richards just wasn't able to pick him up at all. Richards was 50 metres behind him. That is hard running, isn't it? Yep. That is a fantastic example of competing in one forward pocket and getting on the lead on the other.
So this is a tough kick for the left footer. You can see there, the glove stays on. Maybe Richo was looking. No, there goes the kick across the face of goal. Big jump by Melchesky, able to knock it through.
It's a really impressive forward craft there by Travis Cloak. The Swans are certainly dropping a player back when they can in front of him, but if Travis works his way in through the forward 50 like that, impossible to cut off.
Melchesky so often the go-to man. Then Bolton held it up to Grundy. Awkward kick to Jack, but he's good down low, Jack. And then he shrugs off Maxwell. Gets to Reid, and then Reid scrubbers it cleverly to Goods. Back into Bird. They've worked this well, Sydney. I mean, it's been in close quarters, and they've got the ball into a goal-scoring position, and Goods stretches, and then goes and misses. That would have been just a great team goal with little 50-50s.
You see what we're seeing, like the evolution of football. The press to lock the ball in Collingwood's forward line was fantastic 2 or 3 years ago. But tonight, the Swans have got it out and generated scoring shots probably on 4 occasions already over the back of that press up.
Michael O'Loughlin would have kicked that one as the ball goes towards the outer side, fisted away and out of bounds there from Smith.
As I've watched football this year, Tom and Mick, the same question. Seems like the press up just looks really vulnerable to be getting caught over the top.
Knocked down by Mumford. Parker gave it across to Jetta. Sliding in Goods, a chance to make amends right here. Very athletic mark. Good all round that. Beautiful clearance.
Early on, I think Bucks would have to be saying to himself, is Nick Maxwell the best matchup we've got for Adam Goods? He looks like he's really on the move tonight. And for a marking player, he's got such good run.
I'm thinking milestone, lining up at his 400th AFL goal, and he hangs it out to the right. So a couple of misses by the champ, one on the run, and a set shot. But Sydney lead it by 3 points.
It's a good point, Lee, you make about Nick Maxwell. His great value to the side is coming off a direct opponent and helping out. And Adam Goods isn't that sort of player that you do leave one out. So might have to have a rethink.
Gio O'Brien tried to fend Goods off. Goods was fantastic there. And Pike was good a moment ago against Jolly. And the two Reeds go at it there. And then Bird, who's had a couple of handballs that have worked pretty well. And then Blair caught Seedsman. Back to Reed, and then Reed held it up very cleverly. That was great play by Reed. He was going to handball, and then he saw O'Brien. Right. O'Brien cut off. The turnovers against Collingwood here quite a bit. Jack gets it back from McVeigh, and then off a step. McGlynn outnumbered. Russell couldn't quite bolt and got into the turn really early. Seedsman wants the boundary line, and he gets it, and a boundary throw in. So Sydney doing well here after they had all the play early. Collingwood got the 2 goals against the grain, and now the Swans are back at them.
Boundary throw in from the side. Mumford knocks it down. O'Keefe's over the football, claimed immediately. Jolly, who contested the ruck, just followed on, applied the tackle. Maxwell pleading his case. Somebody obviously hit him.
Maxwell, blood rule Collingwood. Thanks, Nick.
That's what happens when you go to the umpire pleading a case for a free and he notices you're gushing.
Well, it does provide the Collingwood side with an opportunity to have a rethink about the Goods matchup.
It's hard to think. I mean, because you've got Mumford and or Pike down there, and you've got Reed. It's the two bigs, Ben Reed and Brown, are probably occupied on very tall opponents.
Well, it looks to me that Harry O'Brien's going to go to Adam Goods at the moment.
Okay.
I think he's called it upon himself to make that change, and I think it's a good one. I like the athleticism of both those guys, Harry O'Brien matching
Interesting. Prior to that throw-up, circling was Mumford around behind Collingwood, trying to deny him a run at the pack. It'll be interesting to watch again if we get a chance. Brown goes over the top to O'Brien, misses the target. O'Keefe's got it, feeds it to Pike. Pike is tackled by Cracker. Ball close to the boundary line. Through the legs of Ball. Well done by Jetta. He was claimed from behind by Pendlebury, and the umpire calls for it again.
It's that point you're talking about, Dennis, to stop the opposition having a third up jumper, so you kind of block the run of the bloke wanting to jump third up. You're allowed to do that.
Ball inside the forward 50. Held was Russell, no free kick. Bolton trying to crash his way through. Clark stood his ground, played it nicely. Elliott, Russell, Williams held up, a bad hand pass behind him. Now Pike at close quarters. Jack Reed sends it downwards, full forward. Wide of the mark, and it bounces out of bounds.
So some repairs on Maxwell there, just stopping the flow. Just panicked a bit there, Reed. He had a slightly more time. Sydney pressing so hard here. Goods trying to win the clearance. O'Brien went to ground. Goods. She's important there in the crunch. Hanbury and both O'Keefe prominent in this ball up. So Sydney working hard to get that third goal here.
And you look at the players who are getting their hands on the ball from a Sydney point of view. Hanbury, Goods, Jack, McVeigh, O'Keefe. They're good players getting amongst it.
Up goes Mumford. Close to the boundary line. Clark on his knees. Blair. Grabbed low. Advantage is paid. Well, Elliott unaware of that and slow to go, so the ball will come back to Blair. Blair in the back pocket. Hasn't seen a lot of the footy. In fact, this is his first possession coming up. They need more from him. Goes without saying. Short one. Wow, that was a dangerous kick. Hanbury, great courage, came back, got a fist to it. McGlynn at his second, long downwards, fall forward. Good mark taken by Seedsman.
It was a good mark because he had Bolton pressing hard against him. He's a good kick, Seedsman, and he gets a lot on that to a one-on-one. Lots of that at the moment. Witz's give was good, and then Sidebottom had to sort of scrub it as far as he could, and then Bird, well, it was a pretty poor kick actually, off a step, and Witz, who kicked the opening goal of the match, gets back to take the mark. Fitting in pretty well, Witz, to Ball. So Ball just his second game. He did the knee in round 3 last year. Has to go now, Ball, and then off a step. He just goes with the defensive kick along the line. McCaffrey cut off by Hanbury. And then Seedsman hacking forward and getting the ball about 55 metres forward. It gets over the back. McVeigh, still McVeigh, and then he runs it over the line and the boundary throw-in. So Maxwell back on. Bit of the mummy look there. Not mummy, you know the mummy for Sydney, but you know what I mean.
Just outside the 50. Pike perhaps. Kennedy in trouble. Haven't called his name too often. Got boot to ball. Parker's in trouble. Taken down by side bottom. Umpire is circling. And the umpire decides he will toss it up.
Kennedy with just the 4 disposals at the moment. McCaffer, he's wearing him like a glove on and off the ground at this stage.
Stop that about a glove, would you, Tom, please?
Could have been high on Blair, but most things are. In trouble O'Brien. Got boot to ball. Getting back Malcheski. That could have been high too. Across it comes to Everett. His kick hangs a long time in the air. Reed, the two Reeds meet at the football if you don't mind. Spills wide at the pack. Taken by O'Brien. O'Brien to McCaffer. Finding his way through Maxwell. Blair in space. Whips a hand pass to side bottom.
Side bottom over the top to Cracker. Back to Blair. And then Blair controls a beautiful kick. Gee, that was good. And Cloak has been so prominent.
You can see Brown very conscious there of blocking the run of Mumford.
Lee, you're saying that's legal?
Yeah. You can't block the run of the main ruckman. But if a third bloke wants to go and jump third up, yeah, he can block his run.
So Cloak's kick 1, he's kicked 2. He actually goes past Tarrant now on the all-time list for the Pies with his 308th goal.
It's funny, from the time Fremantle kicked that goal right on the siren against Richmond a few weeks ago, every club in the competition said, don't allow the third up, second ruckman to be the third up jumper. So I think that's something that every club in the competition would be taking note of to make sure that doesn't happen or can't happen.
Does Richards and Grundy, Cloak at the moment's having a 21st quarter. Richards is obviously the #1 defender, but you have got Grundy that they can swap over at times, can't they?
Just setting their forward structure up really well at the moment. Richards and Grundy, the two key defenders for Sydney, but they need help regardless of how good they are one-on-one, and just shared the ball around really well, Collingwood, before delivering to Cloak.
Magpies lead it by 3 and the Reeds are lined up on each other. Kennedy's in the middle there, comes towards Mumford. Pendlebury slapped out of there by Jolly. Mumford. Witts was in there as well, knocked it forward. Now an opportunity for Everett, slips a hand pass away to Hanbury. Been quiet by his lofty standards this season. His 5th possession. Gave it across towards a teammate and Jack the captain. He goes down towards half forward. And it's Bird, who's about 65 metres out and now 50.
That was for Seedsman running through the protected area. Oh, gee. That's a fine line, 50-50 from the 50-metre penalties. A massive look. We'll have a look at it in a minute. Geez, I don't know whether he was running out of the area as opposed to running through the area. But, gee, harsh call.
It really hurts in that vicinity, doesn't it? Suddenly Bird at point-blank range comes in and just gets it home. Sydney back in front.
Did just squeeze it home. Well, gee, Lee, you summed it up. It's just a massive penalty for a team to pay, isn't it? It's huge. The difference between taking a kick 70 metres from goal or 20 metres from goal. So Bird, who had a dozen goals last year, had a terrific year last year. This year he's been not an absolute first selection. He's played 6 of the 8 coming in. Been a sub a couple of times.
Okay, let's have a look at Seedsman. Bottom of... He's coming off interchange. Gee, that's a harsh interpretation of that protected area. Gee.
Poor Nathan Buckley.
Well, a massive penalty Collingwood paid for that, didn't they? So Bird getting the goal. And the Swans get back the lead in this opening term. Crash and bash and McVeigh going down. Ball going down, pushed in the back. Swan did really well to get his way through, and then not much on the kick though. The break suited Cloak. Malcheski forced to kick down the line. Jack was terrific from the back. And then Swan just trying to caress it to Clark and out of bounds on the full. Now here's the Goods injury. Down he goes.
Legs getting caught. Now that was, no one could say that was Goods' fault, getting his legs caught in that particular contest.
Malcheski to Hanbury, who kicks just beyond the wing. Reid coming in from the side, flying from behind Russell, got a fist on it, knocked it close to the boundary line, and Williams pushes it across. Last man up there is Bird, Buckley down on the boundary. A lot of the big possession winners for these two clubs, and in fact in the competition itself, pretty quiet so far in this opening term. Jolly knocks it down, Mumford there with him. Good's a little 1-2 with Jack. Over the top, McVeigh falling away as he kicked the ball, and the mark is taken by Reid. Reid of Sydney plays on immediately. Everett inside the centre square. Long kick towards the opposite pocket. Running back is Maxwell, looking to stifle the bounce. He paddles it towards the line. Crowd wanting, well, a section of the crowd wanting deliberate. No chance in the world there. We'll have a boundary throw. And as the ball was touched by his hand, he was almost in the grasp of the tackle.
It was really a poor kick there. That needed to go to Lewis Jetta. Hit him straight up. He made a great lead. Would have been a mark and a set shot.
So Goods from Pike, and then back to Goods. There's a goal, and is the advantage paid here? I think it is. So a goal to the Swans. So McVeigh getting the goal. Lee, I said something last weekend that didn't get any. I actually believe that it shouldn't have advantage in the forward 50. I actually reckon it's just wrong. I can see the use of it around the ground. In the forward 50, I just think it's so confusing.
Sometimes it's just too big an advantage, but I think that one was fairly instantaneous. It looked like, as the umpire blew the whistle for Goods, it was Hannaby, wasn't it, who actually kicked the footy. But sometimes the advantage is just too extreme, like everyone stops. But I think, yeah, it must have been on replay. That seemed fair enough, that one.
9 seconds of the term then. Back inside the centre circle. Jolly and Mumford. Like a battle of lead balloons, this one. Not a lot of leaping. See what happens this time. Oh. Fell at their feet. Jack goes with the outside of the boot. Kicks inside the forward 50. Loose ball at the back. Morton's over the top of it. Well played by Russell. Strong tackle by Pike. Got him down. Dying seconds. Reid of Collingwood played it well. Got the hand pass away to side bottom. 22 seconds remaining. Richards tried to punch it away. McCaffer slips it across towards Cloak. Too slick. And he fumbles it out of bounds.
So Collingwood led by 9 points. That was their big margin in the term. And now the Swans have had a 3-goal turnaround late. So it's been a great last bit here by Sydney. And they're certainly going to lead at quarter time no matter what happens in the next seconds. And no free kick. In dispute. Siren, ball up. First quarter ends. So Parker picks himself up. And Nathan Buckley was down there for the last minute and a half. Goods has been terrific in that opening term. And so have the Swans. They made the early running. Collingwood got to the front. Sydney came back hard. Friday night footy in the G. It's Sydney over Collingwood by 9 points.